Hi everyone, this is Lucia, and welcome to WaffleCast episode 4. Today I'm with my friend Gavin, who's going to be talking about spirituality and autism and how it relates to like being neurodivergent and all of that good stuff. Let me make sure that we are actually live, so one moment while I do that. In the meantime, Gavin, could you tell me a little bit about yourself, like how old you are, where you're from, diagnoses you're comfortable sharing, and just really anything about you?
Yeah, of course. I'm what's it called? I'm 25. I'm living in Georgia, up in the mountains. I just moved here recently. I'm on the autism spectrum, some related diagnoses, OCD, panic disorder. The common things you get with ASD. Some of those, I'm in a pagan seminary called Cherry Hill Seminary, and I'm pursuing work as a professional diviner. So
that's awesome, yay! But yeah, being autistic does tend to come with a lot of comorbidities. I myself, I'm autistic and have ADHD, and just a whole basket of fun, which is great.
Absolutely.
So how would you describe your current religious or spiritual beliefs, if any?
Absolutely, and I absolutely have some. I'm pagan. I practice. I'm kind of in a liminal space as a pagan. I joined seminary, and I kind of was learning more about different pagan religions, and that kind of made me question where I was within paganism. I'm still within that, but I'm kind of moving around a little bit, and I don't know where I'm going to end up. But I'm pagan, and yeah, that would be the there's a lot of different other terms within that. There's different types. So as a broad overview, that would be a way to describe it.
Makes sense. I've found that when it comes to people who are pagan, there's a very, very wide variety of different beliefs and ways that people present as being pagan. So it's all very interesting.
I can see your chat. I saw you sent yo everyone. Is anyone else sending me a message?
I don't know who's here.
Is not.
Hi.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's just me who
Well,
sent a
my
message.
aunt and my mom are gonna watch it, so.
Oh, cool. Hi, Gavin's aunt and Gavin's mom.
Not live though. I asked them not to watch
okay.
it live
Well, they'll
because it's
still
too
see
pressure.
us saying hi
pressure.
anyway. So,
Hi guys.
so yeah, cool. So yeah, like I said, I've known some people who are pagan. Most of them are pretty chill. I myself, I'm agnostic, but I have like an appreciation for any spiritual concepts that are proven to help mental health, like meditation, mindfulness, and stuff. And some of that, can stem from things like Buddhism, or I know some pagans do stuff like that. What I find kind of funny is some religious groups like demonize mindfulness and meditation is like, oh no, it's bad, it's evil because it's from Eastern religions or whatever. But actually, it just comes from everywhere. It's a human thing that a lot of people do. Like people meditate, like even Christians meditate sometimes through prayer and stuff like that. So I think it's healthy.
I was watching a documentary on Franciscan monks in a monastery, and I believe they do meditate. At least they call it meditation. I don't know if that's. I know very little about Christian monasticism, but they did explain something called meditation in their daily ritual. So it's practiced, more across the board than people think, but it's definitely more centralized in things such as Buddhism and other Eastern religions, I guess. But absolutely.
Yeah. So wait, what kind of monks did you mention?
Franciscan. Franciscan monks are Catholic.
I'm gonna look it up.
Franciscans are Catholic, I'm pretty sure. But I saw a video.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from looking it up, that they're associated with the Catholic Church. Cool. Because I've heard the term before, but I wasn't entirely sure what it meant. So let's see. So, what was your perception of religion and spirituality growing up?
Well, I grew up kind of, half pagan to begin with. The first church I ever went to was a Unitarian Universalist, which is, equally as pagan as it is Christian. They have Hinduism and Buddhism. Any locally represented religion that people wish to represent is more or less welcome there. I haven't attended one of those in a while, but since I was a child. But yeah, I grew up with that. My father was pagan, my mother was Christian. Into middle school, I kind of went more into Christianity on my own, and that was the path that I went on. I ended up leaving that path about the time that I was 14, 15. I became an atheist and agnostic, and then not alarmingly, that sounds bad, but just, a Buddhist, and I practice asceticism, and it's my opinion that my ascetic practice was too much. I took the renunciation desire a little too far.
Yeah. Is that like avoiding pleasures and stuff like that?
I did not really I took cold showers in the winter sometimes.
No.
There was not pleasure in my life, and it is.
Oh no.
I'm not an advocate of this in any way, but I will say one thing: when you cut out all of the pleasure in your life, you can really get some work done.
I mean, that's true. There's like a balance, though. I think because obviously, if you delve too much into pleasure, you can end up not being very productive. But also, if you don't allow yourself any pleasures, you can become very, what's the word? Kind of blocked up in a way. I know for me, growing up, I grew up Christian, more along the lines of fundamentalist Christian, and there was definitely an emphasis on rejecting quote unquote pleasures of the flesh, and that includes, anything sexual and just even stuff I would say, I was allowed to eat sugar growing up. That was a thing. So that wasn't, but generally, pleasure was kind of seen as a bad thing. But now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing it's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's not just a sexual thing either. You can get pleasure from just eating food and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with it. Danny's here. Hi, Danny. How you doing?
Hey, Danny.
He's our Super Waffle subscriber, so thank you, Danny, for being subscribed. Yay!
One of the Super Waffle benefits on my Patreon is the option to shout out anything to the WaffleCast audience, like a positive message. So here is Danny's.
Welcome to your life. There is no turning back.
Now back to the show.
What was I thinking? And I've kind of come back around. It's regarding, desire and pleasure and stuff. Paganism is, you mentioned, certain churches not, being very, not comfortable with sex. It's definitely very prevalent. But, paganism is very sex friendly. It's part of my seminary and something I've been exposed to in the past with people I've known. But, we have to learn about, all sorts of different sexual practices from queer individuals and even BDSM and things like that, because it's very common for pagans to do that because they're very sex positive, so we have to learn to be sensitive to those things.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed there's this huge crossover between the pagan community and the kink community, and it's very interesting. And what's funny about that is I've also found that there are a lot of neurodivergent people in both of those communities as well. So definitely some crossover there.
I think there are a lot of neurodivergent pagans, and I think there are also a lot of queer pagans. I think those are two demographics that you get a lot into pagan community. And a side note, there's a lot of neurodivergence in the sport of HEMA as well, which is a hobby of mine that I haven't practiced in a while, but that's historical sword fighting that's historically accurate. It's fun. Very neurodivergent.
Yeah, I can picture that. Some very similar things to that, reenactment stuff in general, as well as they're like LARPing and stuff like that. There are a lot of neurodivergent and autistic people who are really into that stuff, I've found.
Absolutely.
I wonder why that is.
Revolt's here.
Hi, Revolt. How you doing? Welcome.
Because
I'm talking to
swords
Gavin.
are cool.
And his
Swords
awesome
are cool,
face.
that's all.
Yeah, swords are cool. Like, yeah, I mean, I was never into like LARPing or anything like that, but I was very much into the concept of sword fighting, and especially like pirates and stuff. Like every Halloween I would collect like plastic swords and stuff that went on sale like after Halloween, and I would do like fake sword fights with my brother and stuff with them.
I don't know if I told you this. I actually had a pirate-themed room that my mom like did for me when I was in elementary school, and like she like sewed like these parrot pillows. We bought like this trunk, and like it was killer. It was really cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Bootyful. I'm trying to remember what you said was your response to the last question, what your perception of religion and spirituality was growing up, and I think you mentioned like how you were raised, and
I kind of got off topic.
Have you had like an overall, I guess, like sort of positive experience with religion? Because I guess compared to me, because I haven't really as much. Like you seem to have a pretty like balanced experience, I guess, growing up with that.
Yeah. I had ups and downs. I had some experiences why I left Christianity. It was some problems with church leadership. And I don't hold any grudges, but definitely some very prominent problems that led me away from that. And I was pretty pissed for a while. But I've come, I came around. I came back into Buddhism, and then I've kind of found my place in paganism. But it wasn't all great. Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask because I was curious, like what led you away from Christianity? Because I know that you kind of went that direction, and then you said you went away from that path.
I don't want to go into too much detail. Just comments by religious leaders. Very hateful, wrathful comments. Yeah, that can do it. Yeah, no grudges, but yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah,
and that's a very common experience. A lot of people come to paganism because of being, receiving, kind of the shadow side, the pagan term of established religion, which is typically Christianity in the U.S.
And I've met a lot of pagans who came from a background of Christianity, which I find very interesting.
Most of them.
Not all, but yeah.
Yeah, it's most of us.
Yeah. So, like, how does your perception of religion and spirituality, like, growing up compare to your current perspective or your current beliefs, I suppose?
I don't really remember what it was as a kid. I really don't. I remember, like, things that my parents taught me, but I don't really remember, like, what I thought about it. I remember being a kid. I remember going to church. I remember in middle school, I went. Someone in the server joked and called it a diet Christian church. It was, which I agree with. It wasn't that. It was fine. It was nice. The sermons weren't too controversial. Are you talking about the Unitarian, whatever? No. It's called, or a different one? I went to a couple mega churches in Birmingham when I was in middle school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's interesting.
Like the ones that have a Starbucks and like a park, like a big mall. Yeah.
Growing up, I went to Willow Creek Church, which the one I went to was basically a mega church, and they also had everything. They had the coffee shop. Everything looked like super nice. Looked like a mall pretty much. And they had what I think was kind of nice is they had different options of where you could go to listen to the sermons. You could be in the big like the big, what's it called?
Like stadium, auditorium.
Yeah, auditorium. You could be in the big auditorium, or you could go. There's like a section where they have screens and stuff, where it's like a little bit quieter, and I always preferred that just because it was less, reverberation and stuff, which was nice. But I think that Willow Creek, it's not like a specific denomination. I think it was more like a non-denominational, but I don't really remember enough of the specific beliefs that I could say what it was. I just know it's a mega church. So, so we got Mira here, we have Revolt here, we have Jaden and Nadaj here. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you.
Everybody.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid and I was going to Willow Creek, they had this kids ministry called Promised Land. And honestly, my favorite part of it was the snacks, because you always got snacks. I didn't like anything else. I just liked the snacks. Whenever they would do like worship and stuff with the kids' worship, it was like you would do these little sort of dances and stuff to the different songs. And I never did that. I've always been almost kind of allergic to group activities where everyone's doing the exact same thing. I don't know why.
Same.
It's like, I refuse. I will not mimic you. I will not do whatever the heck you're doing. I'm just going to sit here. It's a miracle that people put up with me.
Did you do line dancing in elementary school PE?
Oh God, I do not remember. I do remember going to a school dance though, and I did zero dancing.
We did we were complete opposites. At a school dance, I was the guy sometimes this would happen, I'd be in the middle of like a circle, like I don't know if I could dance or not, but some people said I could. There'd be like a circle and like me and this other kid, it was always me and him probably, who would be in the middle dancing.
Yeah, so you,
like I said,
so you were dancing.
I have a ton of social anxiety in various situations. When it comes to like a stage or karaoke or dancing in public, I have none. It's just reverse.
Oh my gosh, are you the same way with public speaking as well?
Usually, yes. Usually I'm more comfortable.
It's exactly like me. It's really funny. Yeah. It's like I also have social anxiety, but when I have the stage, I'm like, I'm fine. And the same thing with like groups and stuff. I've noticed if I go into other people's Discord servers and stuff, I'm like really nervous. But in my own Discord server, I'm totally fine. It's like I just like being in charge, maybe. So,
Power.
Hello, we got a new person. Roman Mithras says, "Well, this is nice. Welcome. Good to see you here. We're talking about autism and spirituality, which reminds me." That we should probably get to the next question. So I was wondering how your spiritual beliefs have been helpful to you.
I mean, in lots of ways. Trying to think of different examples. I'll focus on the paganism. So that's what I've been doing most consistently throughout my. I've found through I do kind of my own methods of meditation. I'm not really learning from any established tradition or anything, but I found it to help with overstimulation, with stress, even with sleep sometimes. Like you're just kind of getting things down, stopping the brain from working so hard. And I do take some elements of my old Buddhist meditation, but not much, but meditation's helped. As a whole, it's given me, not to sound, too, proselytist, I don't know how to say that, but not to sound too crazy, but, it's given me purpose, it's given me hope, it's given me meaning, I'm typically very, very private about it, so it's weird to be talking about.
I get that. Like, I'm kind of the same way with some of my stuff. So do you have any, like, little, I guess, ritual type things that you like to do that you find particularly relaxing?
I meditate. I already talked about that. I will sit outside and, without any devices or screens and kind of observe. I'm trying to learn like weather patterns and animal migrations and kind of, I'm trying to do that as a divinatory system. I haven't had much luck yet, but, I do that. I'm in the process of learning tarot. So I'll pull these out. I have these three. I'm doing.
Yay! Show and tell.
show and tell. I'm doing one draw a day. Very new at this. I've been doing it for a couple of weeks, but I draw 3 of these a day, do a reading for the day, and usually I have to look up the cards still, and that's how I'm learning them, is just by doing that.
I heard that tarot cards used to be like playing cards, just as like a game or something.
Absolutely.
People started using them for like readings. Do you know anything about that?
I absolutely do. So historically, they, I believe, were hand-painted, kind of, refined crafts objects for very rich people, for nobility. It wasn't until, I think, it was the occult revival of the Romantic era. I think that's around like 1800s, I'm not sure. But that's when people started using them for divination. They were, I'm almost certain they were originally playing cards. Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings up an interesting point in my mind where, I believe that, your association with something can make it what it is. Like, they used to be playing cards, just playing cards, and then people took them and now they're using them for divination. Because I find that some people, like, just because, again, I grew up in like a Christian environment, and there was a lot of like fear around certain things, like certain symbols, certain or tarot cards or Ouija boards and stuff like that. Like, and my perspective now is it's because of your association with it. It's not that it's like inherently evil kind of thing. I know some people will disagree with me on that, but like that's my perspective now. Like, it's sometimes a point of ridiculous where it's like, people will think Harry Potter's evil, and just because the association of it in their mind is like, well, it's witchcraft that makes it evil, and it's evil because I feel it deep within my soul.
Hear me out. I do not think Harry Potter is evil, but Harry Potter is definitely based on occultism, and it's consistent to I'm a pagan. I'm becoming a pagan minister. I by no means have a problem with the occult, but if you think the occult is evil, Harry Potter is inspired. It is not, but it is strongly inspired on occultism. Like those little, those
gosh
things.
Darn it, Gavin! Now all the strict Christian parents are going to double down on their decision to not let their kids watch Harry Potter. Thanks, Gavin. I'm kidding.
I mean, they're gonna make their own decisions. But those things in Harry. I'm gonna say one more thing. Those things in Harry Potter, like the little, what were they called? The screaming little plants.
Oh gosh, those things were so annoying. I forget what they're called. There's some
mandrake.
Kind of root. Yeah, mandrake.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not too confident. But I know they had mandrake. I don't know if it's a modern purpose or if it's a historical one. It might have been potentially a psychedelic plant taken almost in like a shamanistic state, like that prophets, seers and stuff would do. So
I thought it was poisonous, though. Isn't it poisonous or something?
It probably is. Don't do psychedelic.
We do not condone that here.
Hold up, hear me out in full. Unless you are related to an indigenous tribe, either you're part of it or you're learning directly from them, and they have proper experience, and there's a proper religious reason for it. Now, this is not, a group of white teenagers who read about it and set up a teepee in their backyard, or not a teepee, forgive me, a sweat lodge, and all get dehydrated and go to the ER. That is not what we're trying to do. But personally, I will never use psychedelics as part of my practice. But don't do that.
Yeah, not to mention that, if you're not experiencing it, just in general, you can really mess it up. People die. People really. We get change subject. People really die trying to do that. It's very dangerous. So I'm going to read some of the comments that we have. So Revolt asked, what are your thoughts on a calm bottle? Do you think a calm bottle can be considered spirituality? I mean, sure, it could be. In my opinion, honestly, anything could be part of your spiritual life. And I think especially for autistics, if you find certain things very stimmy and calming, even like a calm bottle, you could have a spiritual association with it. So totally. Also, Jay Hill says, I'm not sure if religion is good or bad for autistics. I was raised in a rather strict religious home, so I have a more negative attitude about it. Honestly, same here. Like, I also kind of was raised with some strict rules and, especially around like sexuality and things like that. And so I've got kind of more of a negative experience. So I think your experience with religion, kind of depends on your upbringing, depends on a lot of things, depends on also how dogmatic your upbringing was, if you had a religious upbringing, because there are some, there are even some like even Christian upbringings that were totally fine because they were not super dogmatic or anything. I find that like a lot of people I know who are raised that way, they were raised with the more dogmatic beliefs, but I don't know. And I think it's important to kind of make your own decisions, especially as an adult, about what you want to do in your spiritual life, if you even want a spiritual life as well, because, being an atheist or agnostic is also totally fine.
Absolutely.
Like, there are a lot of people who were raised, in a very strict religion who grew up, became either atheist or decided to try something like paganism or something different, and I don't know. Anyway, let's see.
A quick note, a lot, and I've already said this, but a lot of pagans are, come to paganism from, growing up in a traditional religious environment, it not working for them. A common reason for that is because, being queer, you get a lot of, that can be very traumatic for people, and paganism is very, very queer friendly. It's,
for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to convert. I actually, I'm going to say this, with the church I plan to be ordaining with, talking to them, I'm ordained, but I'm supposed to be starting that long process soon. That might work out. I will actually have to take vows against conversion. I am not allowed to convert anybody.
That's actually a good thing, I think. Like, because I think it's good for people to make their own decisions about stuff like that and not be coerced. So
absolutely, yeah,
for sure. And something I've realized ever since I deconverted from Christianity is one habit that did not quite go away is the idea that, there's like a one right way to do things. Even if it wasn't related to Christianity, it would be like, maybe like diet or exercise or things like that. Like, oh, you should be doing this, 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 and this. And there was this tendency for me to want to kind of push my own idea or my own opinions on other people. And eventually I realized what I was doing, and I was like, oh shit, like I was doing this exact same thing in Christianity because we were taught to, to convert people to a religion. So I need to like let people do their own thing in life, with everything, and not judge, and only give advice if people ask for it. Because it is kind of annoying to get unsolicited advice on how other people think that you should live. So
I'd say the caveat is if someone was like doing something like extremely destructive, maybe you shouldn't jump off that house into that pool. You might break your legs, or maybe you need to
that's a valid reason to say, hey, you might not want to do that.
Some people only learn the hard way, though.
I know. Yeah. Also, one thing I wanted to mention, just because I know we've been talking, because I'm biased. I was, raised with stricter religion. Anything can be, any belief system can be damaging or cult-like.
Yes.
So whichever path you choose, just make sure that you keep an eye out for the signs of a cult, because there is such thing as, pagan cults, New Age cults, Buddhist cults, all kinds of cults. You can find them literally everywhere. So just
like every other religion, there are lots of. I'm not saying they all are. They're absolutely going to any religion or political organization. You really need to look out for that. Yeah,
you can find cult patterns and behavior in political groups, and it could literally be a group of friends that become a cult. So some signs to look out for would be things like in-group or out-group talk, where it's you're either with us or you're against us, or looking at other groups of people going, they're the enemy, they're bad, they're wrong, we have the truth, we are the right ones, kind of thing.
So if I could say something, I've done some studies in seminary about identifying cults, because that's something I have to look out for.
Let's hear it.
I probably need to review that again, but from what I remember, there's a couple things to look out for. I'll get through some of them because there's a lot, but some of them more easier ones to know. Obviously the big red flags are that their goal is to separate you from the world, separate from your family, to control your contact. But you can see that they're going to do that with things like grimness, which is the idea that you can't poke fun at leaders, you can't make fun of my status, or we can't joke about that. That's a bad sign.
Don't criticize the system or the boss, or
if you get met with like a death seriousness, that's a red flag. You need to run.
For sure. And also the isolating thing that you mentioned, like isolating from friends and family, like that's also a sign of toxic relationships as well. Like if you're dating someone and you find that you're starting to become isolated from your friends and family, might want to analyze the situation a little bit.
Cults are just a toxic group relationship. Exactly. It's a toxic, abusive group relationship. That's all a cult is. I'm not someone who has training in counseling or psychology, which I do not, might strongly differ, but that's how I understand it.
Also, looking back, when I listen to certain sermons, I've noticed that there's like this tendency for a lot of, especially like evangelical, like Christian pastors, to use very emotional language and emotionally charged atmosphere to kind of get whatever it is their message is across. Just kind of be aware of that, because sometimes by setting a certain mood or trying to invoke certain emotions within you, it can kind of shut down your ability to actually hear what they're saying, what argument they're trying to make, and just kind of accept it at face value, which you definitely don't want to do with, honestly, any ideas thrown at you.
I would, in addition to that, I would say, if you are either really ecstatic and like overflowed with joy, that's like abnormal, that's a warning. And if you're overblown with fear, that is abnormal. It should be reasonable, rational, nothing, nothing too out of this world. It should be comprehensible.
Yeah. Like, it's normal to be afraid of, I don't know, like really high heights because you could, fall and hurt yourself. It's not normal to be afraid of a rock because you think it's possessed by the devil or something like that. Yeah, there's a difference. So, Jay Hilst says, I actually grew up believing that most people waited until marriage to have sex. Yeah, most people do not. Even a lot of people who believe that that's the right way to go. Like, honestly, like 98% of people do have sex before marriage. It's just a natural human thing that kind of just happens.
I think it's a bad idea. No one really, my personally, because
sorry, you were breaking up a little.
But can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Okay. So I wouldn't wait for marriage myself, because I think that you're gonna rush to get married just because you want to have sex. And then you're gonna.
You don't want that. You don't want to be stuck in a legal contract with someone just to get it on.
You can just get you're both adults. It's consensual. No one's under the influence. Just do it. You don't have to get married first. You don't need me to tell you that. You absolutely don't need me to tell you that. But that's what I would do.
Trying to respond to Jaden, and I just worded it really weird. I was just saying, because he was saying you can't make fun of the leaders, that Twitch has that rule too or something, and it's like, I was basically trying to say social media giants can be butt faces about that, but I said social media giants can be censoring butts. Well, they usually do censor butts. You're not supposed to post NSFW stuff on this on these platforms anyway. So, Supernova
Twitter
says.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Twitter is probably the best example of what not to do in a religious or any community.
Yeah, it's just say the most outrageous stuff, and then Twitter also pushes forward the most like extreme takes, so it doesn't help. But yeah, Supernova says that emotionally charged atmosphere thing is so true. Yes, very true. I've found that to be very true in evangelical, charismatic, sometimes Baptist, like Christian, religious groups. I'm assuming this also is probably a thing in some other groups, like maybe some New Age type ones. I know there's like, or like even some hippie like, belief systems can be all about the feels.
Oh no, there were a ton of hippie cults in the 1960s, absolutely, and there are.
Oh my gosh.
Cults. Probably the most well known are actually tied with Nazis, which really sucks.
Oof.
I forget what they're called, but there's a group in Greece, of pagan Nazis, and the regular non-Nazi pagans, me and most of us, strongly hate that Nazis are, doing Nazi things with pagan images, because we're like, no, get that off your flag and stop doing that.
It's like, yeah, we do not want to be associated with hate. Thank you very much.
There's also a group to look out for in the U.S., the True Folk Assembly. I'll speak out against them. They have they're a cult operating under the protection of a religion. They're Norse
what
pagans.
Are they called?
The Alsa True Folk Assembly. Norse pagans are not bad. I practice some Norse paganism, but this branch of it, think of Norse paganism like a branch of Christianity. Like, they're not all, bad, but this particular group, the Alsa True Folk Assembly, is bad. I
literally cannot comprehend the name. Like, what? Say it slower. Because I want to look it up to make sure I've got the right one so I could do some research.
It's a modern... Can I type it? It's a
Yeah, you can
modern,
type it. Uh-oh. Gavin froze. He's frozen. I'll respond to everyone in the meantime. Jaden says, Dudism is technically a hippie-esque religion. Danny says, I like waffles. I like waffles too. Yeah, I like the concept of Dudism. It's so like chill. It's like basically, it's literally just about being super chill. Rage Master says, I like cake. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Your camera cut out. Your camera froze, and now it's off. So you'll probably have to turn it back on. I'm guessing that trying to type it in screwed it up.
I went to type the name of the cult in the chat, and it messed up my whole setup. Yay, Chromebook.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for sending the name. Now I found it, and the first thing that comes up is it basically says it's a white supremacist international organization.
It's bad.
It's like, yeah. So
it's bad.
Safe to say it's pretty bad then. Yeah.
No religious demographic is excluded from predators and cults. So they'll infiltrate them all.
So I'm going to move on to the, not the direct next question. I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit because I think this is an important one. And it's, do you think that being neurodivergent has any impact on one's ability to be spiritual? And how so? Like in either a negative, positive, or like neutral kind of way?
I think in a couple ways. There's good things and bad things. The good being, kind of being creative and kind of being nonconformist is pretty common for a lot of neurodivergents. But also is the opposite, where a lot of neurodivergents, including myself, don't like breaking rules, like to fit in. We kind of have both of these in us, and if you're too concerned about following rules, then you might just blindly follow people. If you're too nonconformist, you might just be hedonistic and rebellious. So, did I answer that properly? I don't remember the original question. how it affects spirituality?
I think that you gave a pretty good answer,
Okay.
which is basically how being neurodivergent has any impact on one's ability to be spiritual. And I think you've hit the nail on the head that a lot of neurodivergents either tend to be like either really nonconformist or really like to follow the rules, or sometimes both in certain situations. I know for some, like autistic people especially, like we tend to need, or a lot of us tend to need sort of a specific set of rules. Like when people are explaining social rules, they're often not very black and white. You know, it's like very context-based as opposed to, you know, some religion-based rules might be a little more clear, and that might be really, you know, appealing because of that. But on the flip side, you know, me, like how I was describing how when I was a kid, like, you know, I refused to do worship. Actually, this was all throughout my life. Like, I just, even when I was going to regular adult church, like, I didn't want to stand up and sing. It's just not something I was driven to do. And in a lot of, especially organized religions, like, a lot of the Abrahamic religions like Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, stuff in that category tends to be more, I think, conformist, where you have to, you know, there's this ideal of how you're supposed to be. And I'm not saying this is found just in those religions. This can be found in a lot of other ones too. Like anything could be a cult, for example. But I find this to be more common in those. So like I wouldn't do personally well with any of those just because of the expectation of like you're supposed to be this way, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to not do this. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. It's like that's my first instinct to just be like, no, don't tell me what to do.
I'm pretty similar. You know, there definitely is a difference. You know, paganism kind of regained popularity, or it gained popularity in the U.S. I think for the first time around the 1960s or the 70s, kind of due to the countercultural movement of that time. So it's heavily influenced by all of that kind of nonconformity.
I wonder how many hippies in the 60s and 70s were like also neurodivergent. I bet a good number of them.
You know, I think we need a sociologist. We need to ask them that, 'cause that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture the hippie life being very neurodivergent friendly. I think Mira, my friend Mira, would probably call herself a hippie as well.
I don't know about concerts though. Like I love music, but like I can't do concerts.
Oh no!
I know Hayden can, or at least he plays concerts. So.
Oh yeah, he plays concerts. He goes to concerts. Really into that, which is awesome. But for me, definitely sensory overload. I went to one of his concerts though for his band Neptune the Mystic, and it was actually really cool. His band has really cool like setup and atmosphere when they're playing. It's got like these, I don't know how to put it. It's like this space alien vibe type thing, like glowing
cool
stuff. It's really cool. But generally, I don't go to concerts too. But so the next question is pretty similar to the previous one, which is basically what belief systems or lack thereof do you think neurodivergent or autistic people tend to flock to, and which belief systems do you think would like suit autistic people? I think that's pretty much the same question though.
It kind of is,
yeah.
I think we can get in trouble when we are either too like we're all gonna fall somewhere different on the spectrum. Like some people are gonna feel more comfortable in what's more mainstream socially acceptable. Some people are gonna feel more comfortable on the fringes. But if you go too far into nonconformity, and you go too far into, if you go, you know, the extremes of both are bad. You know, I think we can kind of fall danger to both of those as neurodivergents.
Yeah, balance is good, and I can picture a lot of us probably accidentally becoming extremists in either direction, just because we tend to take things and run with them like really, really far. Like, like even just with our interests, like we get really, really, really into our interests. And if your interest is like, you know, a religious belief of some kind, you might hold yourself to a ridiculously high standard, and other people do a ridiculously high standard, and it's not a fun time. I've been there. I don't like it.
That's kind of what I did with the asceticism. I like just said like no. Like I just cut. It was. I don't know. I could never do that. Like taking a cold shower in winter, I couldn't do it if my life.
No, that's not a fun way to be. Also, sorry, my character's freaking out over here. I was trying to lean over to grab something. So, is there anything that spiritual groups or churches could do to help neurodivergent people feel more welcome? Or I guess, is there anything that they're already doing that's helping?
You know, that's a great question. One I probably should think about more. Obviously, there are things, you know, the obvious things are sensory issues, you know, loud music, bright lights. You know, those are the obvious things that need to be addressed. And now I'm trying to think. Do you have any ideas? I could use some advice. You know, what would...
Well, if I were to...
Like what type of social environment?
Well, in terms of I do want to touch on the sensory, even though, like, you know, it does seem kind of obvious, because what's interesting is, because when I did my documentary, back then I was a Christian, so I talked a little bit about how the church environment was like, you know, sensory overload a lot of times. And my friend Katie, who I also interviewed, basically said, like, you know, why you have the music all the way up to level 11? Like, you don't need it at that all the time. But then I had some people in the comments going, like, you can't expect, you know, churches to conform to your needs or this or that. Just go to a quieter church, which I suppose you could do. But my idea was, if you want to make everyone happy, you could have, like, kind of like what Willow Creek did, where you have another option of, you know, the autistic person could go to, maybe there's like a separate room where there's like a monitor, so if people who wanted a more quiet experience could go over there. Or even if you don't have that as an option, like let's say you're a church that's really small and you don't have, you know, a whole lot of funding for that kind of thing, it doesn't cost very much, aside from maybe the effort and internet, to set up a kind of a live stream so that people could watch from home if they would prefer to do that. So that would be some options, while, you know, still allowing the people who are at the church, if they want the really loud, like, rock concert level volume, they can still enjoy that. Let's see. Also, I was going to suggest, like, training church staff on autism and neurodivergence, especially if they're working with neurodivergent children, because you know, how you're treated as a child can make a huge impact on your psychology going forward. So you'd want to make sure, like, if you have autistic kids and you're putting them in a kids ministry kind of thing, that you are confident that they're going to be, you know, accommodated for, and they're going to be understood. Because you can't really, you know, you can't discipline neurodivergent kids the same way in a lot of cases, and, you know, and they might need specific things, and it helps to kind of understand how they work. So
absolutely, all of that. I didn't think, you know, I've thought about, you know, my community, I don't incorporate preaching, so like live streaming doesn't really make sense preaching anything, but it does make sense to maintain the online community just for, you know, I've had times in my life where I would not have wanted to have gone to an in-person gathering, especially to people I've never met. So I think keeping an online thing, you know, so that people can join, you know, maybe, you know, the Discord, the no mic, no video, just text, and maybe warm up, and maybe video if they feel like it, maybe not. And that could make a big difference in accessibility.
Oh yeah, for sure. And do you want to mention your Discord? This might be a good time.
Yeah. See, I would send it if the link's in the bio to my Instagram.
Yeah, so there's a link in the description to Gavin's Instagram, and I also included his link tree as well, which leads to his website. You can find his Discord server on. Yeah, and the Discord. Yeah, the Discord link is in there. You're right.
Yeah.
So if you click on his Linktree link, there will be a link to his Discord server. So the Discord is Cunning Corner. And what kind of what's the point of Cunning Corner? Tell us.
It's a mixture of things. It's I might do separate ones in the future. I might have to, but right now it's a mixture of my ministry community, which I'm a student at Cherry Hill Seminary, which is a pagan seminary, and I'm also talking to a church about beginning a pagan church about beginning an ordination internship. It's my community for pagans and witches and magical practitioners to come together, be in a common space. Anyone is welcome, provided you respect the other people. That is the only requirement. If you do that and you're over 18, then you're welcome.
Woo!
That's just a place for pagans. So.
Yep, and lots of interesting conversations. So definitely check that out. I want to respond to Revolt. Says, I know, Lucia, you went to a Christian college. Yeah, I did. It was actually a really interesting experience because it was like a liberal arts Christian college. So I actually learned a lot there, to the point that my critical thinking skills actually got better. I think it actually played a part in my deconversion, ironically, which is kind of funny. Oh, it's the cat. It's Cassio.
Cassio! Yeah.
Yeah, this is Gavin's cat. Adorable. Meow.
Stick his head up. Yeah.
So adorable.
I'll make sure he doesn't stick his butt in the camera. I'll try to avoid that. Lest we get demonetized.
It's demonetized for cat butt. So beautiful. I also have a Discord server as well. Waffle Zone, where we just kind of hang out. It's a more general Discord server where people just hang out and make friends, and it's also kind of my main hub for my channels, so if you would feel free to join. There is a link in the description there. We have monthly movie nights, and this month we're going to be watching Hocus Pocus 1 and 2, because Halloween. Yay, beautiful. So Gavin, is there anything else you'd like to add or info dump about, whether it's related to spirituality or anything else?
Up a little bit. I've really been studying. I got this book. It's like a 600-page book on the cunning folk of England from 1550 to 1900, and a little bit in America. They were the Christian folk practitioners of magic in that area, and I'm learning the old, the divination, the old school 1500s astrology, and the charms and all that, and that's just been fun.
Hi Tony, we got a new person in here. How are you doing today? We're talking about spirituality and autism, and we're probably going to be wrapping up soon. But something I wanted to mention that I just want to emphasize, just because, I was brought up in a rather strict religious environment. If you are autistic and you have had this similar experience to me, just know this is totally okay. When I grew up religious, I kind of had this, I was under the impression that, you're supposed to, whenever you pray or are prayed over or worshiping and stuff, you're supposed to feel the Holy Spirit and stuff like that. If you do not have that experience, that is okay. You can be a logical believer or not one if you would prefer. I felt like crap about the fact that I was not, feeling all these vibes that everybody else was. And this goes for, any religious group that you join. You might have this pressure to feel some energy or something in the room. And if you don't, that's totally normal and that's totally okay. It doesn't make you any more or less spiritual. So, Cassio! Oh my gosh, we are blessed. We are blessed by the cat vibes. If you don't feel the cat vibes, you're going to hell. Just kidding. No, that's fine. I like cats. That's so beautiful.
Cat wiggle.
Did he just stand up like that just by himself?
Yeah, he's doing this all. He's just checking out the computer. This is all him.
He just wants the stage. He's like, this is my live stream now.
I can't let him lay down. He wants to lay down on the computer. I'm not gonna let him though, so that would probably turn everything off.
Trying to
so
think,
any more questions or?
I don't know. Yeah, does anyone have any more questions? And in the meantime, Gavin, is there anything you want to like advertise of yours aside from the Discord?
Not really. I've got the Discord for any pagans, witches, or magic workers that want to find an online ministry community. I'm trying to pursue work as a professional diviner, doing tarot and folk astrology, a little bit, geomancy type stuff, but that's going to take time before I'm able to do that. The ministry stuff I'm still learning. I've only been in seminary for 3 months, and it's a 15-month program, so.
Wow, so you got a long way to go.
I do.
For sure. I finally have my calendar up. So our movie night's the 28th and the 29th. So if you want to join our Discord and watch the movies with us, it'll be awesome. And then I live stream on my gaming channel on the 30th of this month. I'm going to be playing a horror game called SCP Containment Breach, which I've never played and I want to play it. So that should be really fun.
When is that?
That is the 30th of this month.
30th. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right, so if, feel free to join Gavin's Discord, my Discord, and thank you for being willing to be interviewed for WaffleCast, Gavin. It was great talking to you, and everybody have a great night.
It's genuinely a fantastic interview. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
How old were you when you first got into music? Like, what inspired you to pursue it as a career?
So I've always found joy in music for pretty much as long as I can remember, early childhood. As a young child, in fact, around age 6 or so, I discovered I had perfect pitch, and I even helped my older sister with her music class assignments, but I didn't begin to really take it seriously until after my dad passed away when I was about 11 years old. I picked up an old acoustic guitar that my family had lying around. I think it belonged to my grandfather. It was up in the attic, and this was after my dad passed away, and I just kind of randomly picked up this acoustic guitar that I found. I figured out how to strum a chord, and for reasons that I can't explain to this day, it comforted me in a way that I knew from then on that music was the thing that would be in my life forever. And to be honest, it's one of the only things in life that I'm any good at, so I just took it and ran with it.
Want to hear more? Go to the Neurolucia YouTube channel or the WaffleCast on Spotify to watch the entire episode.